June 24th, 2014, and the news out of Miami is that LeBron James is opting out of his contract. That means he'll become an unrestricted free agent the 1st of July. So LeBron had 2 years left on his contract, and he could have stayed in Miami, but he's opting out, and he's going to test the waters of free agency. That doesn't 100% mean that he's leaving Miami, but why would you opt out if you plan on staying? The only reason to opt out and stay would be that they have to restructure the deals of the big three to keep them together. But there's a lot of rumors circulating that LeBron James is going to be leaving Miami, and the top teams that are in contention to have LeBron James join their roster for next season would be the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he started his career, the Atlanta Hawks, which I don't really see that happening, but that's what they're saying, and then the Los Angeles Lakers, which you can never count them out, especially with the history there in LA. Of course, this is according to ESPN. You can go to ESPN.com to check out the full article. I'll leave a link in the description to that. And according to the article, it says that LeBron was going to make $20 million next year, 42.7 over the next 2 years. That he's going to test the free agent waters. And Pat Riley is the one that released a statement about LeBron opting out. So that is official. That's Pat Riley, the GM. He's the head there, the head president in Miami. And but what they're saying though too is that LeBron and D Wade, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, that they're going to sit down. They're going to have a talk to figure out what they're all going to do, because Wade and Bosh both could opt out of their contracts as well. So when they all signed back in 2010 with the Heat to form, the big three, Wade was already there. Bosh and James came. They were all free agents. They signed 6-year deals with the option to opt out either this year or next year. But with the way it's structured with the salary cap, they're going to have to rework those deals to be able to keep all three of them. Also, they're going to need to add players. You got to think too, they've actually set some records here, over the last 4 years, and they've made some history. And they still have some history they could continue to make. They've been to 4 straight NBA finals as a big three there with Wade, James, and Bosh, and they could go to a 5th. The only team that's ever done that, gone to 5 in a row, was the Boston Celtics, and that's when they went to 10 in a row back from the late 50s into the 60s with Bill Russell, back when the Celtics were the most dominant team in the NBA. So there's that. But over this span, though, of the 4 years that they've been together, they've been to 4 finals. They've won 4 straight Eastern Conference titles. They've won 2 championships, and they've won more games over that 4-year period than any other team during that time. LeBron James was the leading scorer for the finals, and he would be only the second player to lead a team in scoring in the NBA Finals and then leave the team the next year. The only other time that happened was Shaquille O'Neal when he went from LA to Miami. Be interesting to see if LeBron went then from Miami to LA. That'd be kind of a funny coincidence. But the Lakers, though, I don't know, other than with Mystique, what can they offer LeBron? Going back to Cleveland, it's something that's been on LeBron's mind. It has to have been. I don't know. I can't tell you what's on his mind or his mind, but he grew up in Cleveland, so you gotta believe that he's always wanted to go back there one day. I mean, I've always thought that eventually he would end his career back in Cleveland. Of course, that depends on the fans. Will they accept him back? I think they will. They were mad when he left, but they were mad because they love him, because he's the best player. He gave a valiant effort. And if he comes back now, he's still in the prime of his career. He could still give Cleveland some really good, solid years. And with David Blatt, with the hiring of David Blatt as the head coach, and with Kyrie Irving, they've got the pieces in place that make it a much more attractive option for LeBron James to go back to Cleveland. He can play with Kyrie. He can play with Coach Blatt. They can bring in some other players. Cleveland could definitely compete. There's no reason why the Cavs couldn't be competing in the East. And then we also consider that the possibility, who knows, maybe Bosch comes to Cleveland. Is that possible? Carmelo's also, opted out of his contract. He's out there in that free agent pool. So is possibly D Wade. Like I said, possibly Bosch, possibly D Wade, or they might just stay there. You also have, Kevin Love is one of the top free agents. It's quite the free agent class here in 2014. All the teams out there have a very good chance of improving their roster with these superstar players out there like LeBron. And you got to think about this too with LeBron. Why would he opt out? Why would he leave Miami? If you look at, they've been to 4 straight finals. Wouldn't you want to go to a 5th? Well, here's the thing. When you play that deep into the postseason, right, you play more games. So LeBron has played more games over the last 4 years than any other player in the NBA other than Bosch and Wade. And he's played more than Wade because Wade's been hurt. So LeBron actually this year too, this is the 4th year, he had to carry more of the workload this year because every year D Wade is diminishing. He's been one of the great players, in NBA history. D Wade's won 3 championships in Miami. He's a great player, but he's coming to the end of his career. And, he's had lots of injuries. He's on, beat up legs. So that means that LeBron has to carry more of the load. And that's what he did this year. He carried the load. He was having to be like the prime guy. And the thing is, though, when you year in, year out, going that deep all the way, playing as many games as you could possibly play, all the way to the NBA Finals, through all the rounds of the playoffs, all those extra games, and it adds up year after year after year as you continue to go deep and deep and deep into the playoffs. It happens to all the great teams, as you see throughout, NBA history. It happened to the Lakers, back in the day. It happened to the Pistons. It happened to the Bulls. It happens to everyone. Eventually, you end up having, you get fatigued, years and years of overworking yourself to the point where eventually teams will have a year where they might not make the playoffs because of that. But that's why it would be attractive for LeBron to go somewhere else where he won't have to be carrying the load so much, where he can just go there, fit in with the team, and just be part of a team. Whereas, that's what was good about the Big Three. That's why you go to Miami, is because now it's a team. And whereas in Cleveland originally he was carrying the load there, he carried them all the way to the finals, but they weren't able to beat Kobe. And then now he's going to, he goes to Miami, they win, they've got a team, the Big Three, but now that's starting to fall apart, basically just because of old age and just wear and tear and, deep playoff runs. It's just a natural occurrence. So now it's the time, it really makes a lot of sense that LeBron would move on to another team, to somewhere else where he would have a better chance of winning, where he could, capitalize the most on his talents. Because, really, you only have so many years that you're able to compete at such a top level. So wouldn't you want to be putting yourself in the best position to win when you are in your prime? You don't want to waste your talents. That's why he did take his talents to South Beach at the time he did. And now it's become, apparent that to stay in South Beach would be a waste of his talents. And it would be a better use of his talents to go back to Cleveland, to go play with Kyrie, David Blatt's head coach. That remains to be seen. There's still other teams out there. Really, every team in the NBA that has the money is going to come after LeBron. And even teams that don't have the money are going to try to figure out a way to get the best player in the NBA, is LeBron James. There might be other guys who are better at doing individual things, but all around, LeBron's the best. Kevin Durant's the best scorer. LeBron's the all-around best player. So the market is now going to be open. The floodgates open a week from now on July 1st is when it becomes official that he's a free agent. LeBron James opts out of his contract. Let me know what you think. Where do you think he's going to end up? Is he going to stay in Miami? Is he going to go back to Cleveland? Is he going to end up somewhere else? Is he going to end up in Atlanta? Is he going to end up in Los Angeles with the Lakers? Will he end up somewhere else? Maybe Chicago? Maybe New York? Who knows? What do you think? Let me know. And we'll give you an update and more news as soon as it becomes available.